Hello, everybody. It is 8:34 p.m. Central Time on the 30th of January, 2021. It's Saturday here in the United States. Hope you're doing well. We're actually going to try and record an update here. It's been a week since I've uploaded anything over on YouTube. We're live right now on Twitch. Again, we're going to record this and put it over on YouTube. I do have a cat in a chair behind me. She'll probably wake up, start meowing. Duchess is outside right now, so she might be coming back in a few minutes. So you might hear some noise. It's going to be a great update already, can you tell? All right, now let's get a display capture turned on here. We'll start over here in the West Pacific again. This is where we start. For those of you who are new, if you don't know what you're looking at, right now we're just using the USGS feed. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the EMSC feeds to give us a view around the world. And I've had it off because there's been false earthquakes being populated out to my copy of Earthquake 3D sent to me directly from the EMSC. Someone at the EMSC directly pinging my copy of Earthquake 3D only with fake earthquake dings. Turned it off and it stopped. So anyways, just turn it back on so we can get the European feed. But man, I have to turn it off and keep it off because it's obviously compromised by somebody who doesn't like what we're doing. Anyway. The earthquakes that are raised high off the globe here are deep down into the earth, and we watch for new deep earthquakes to take place because from those deep earthquakes we see shallower, larger earthquakes spread out and away from where the deep earthquakes are hammering up into the underside of the plate. Let me show you something here. This is a video I show all the time. These concentric waves in this wave pool here. But what I want you to imagine is this happening down below the plate in the plasticky-like magma or asthenosphere, the semi-melted area down below the plate, and that the wave focuses in on itself and it doesn't have very much space to press down into. Of course, it's a fluid somewhat, so then it comes up into the underside rigid portion of the plate and spreads out. Now when it spreads out in a standing wave. It's not just a bunch of chaotic waves going around. The waves combine and multiply with other deep earthquakes, and the more deep earthquakes that happen, the more amplitude that's pumped in, the more energy that's pumped in. Then we see a spread of the same sized earthquakes spread out across vast distances, and the more energy that's pumped in, the bigger the waves get, the bigger the waves get, the bigger the earthquakes get as it spreads out across the plate boundaries. Let me show you the plate boundaries so you know what I'm talking about. The red lines, you're going to hear me reference these a lot. This is from the USGS, this map showing the plate boundaries around the planet between all the plates. Now that's like the wave tank that I was just showing you, containing the wave. But it's not a perfectly straight tank, obviously. It's Mother Nature breaks and bends in the plate. But the same sized earthquakes pop off along the way after our hammering action takes place. So, deep earthquakes take place, followed by spreads of shallower, larger earthquakes spreading out across those red lines that I just showed you. Now we have arrows on the map showing you which way the spreads normally take place. Now from here, where our letter D is, it's a three-way point. One point goes to the west. One point goes to the south, down to New Zealand. One point goes over to the east and spreads out to our fracture zones, which go all the way over into South America. And you see them, they're like east and west facing lines on the map. These are fractures in the plate that go through the plate. So we get a hammering action here and it spreads up, out, and away, like a dome or a bubble of pressure coming up on the underside of the plate. Now you see the letter D there, that's a forecast point. It's been on there for years. This is a spot where we watch for new deep earthquakes to take place. And they either happen right inside the letter D, like what happened earlier this week, or right around it. So really, this is just the pinnacle point of the plate. Let me show it to you back on the red line map. Here. Deep earthquakes hammering up here. And it spreads out to the west, down to the south, and you'll see the USGS has nothing over to the east, but they should, because that's where the fractures go across the plate, again, like latitude on a map almost, east and west facing. Yes, that's Leviathan over there in the ocean there. That's a map thing. Now, over to the west, we have more deep earthquakes, and you'll see if I zoom in really close, there's another letter D there. Well, actually, there's two. There's two letter Ds there, and this letter D keeps getting hit with new deep earthquakes. Now, new volcanic eruptions have also taken place down across here in Indonesia. Now, make note of the size of the quakes spreading out from Indonesia over to the west. We have a 5.6 and a 5.4. Both are on the plate boundaries. Again, let me show you the red lines. 5.4, 5.6. So that's a spread of mid-range 5s going out into the west, following the bend of the plate going into Sumatra. One more time, look at the red line. See how it makes a bend or a curve and it goes up into Myanmar? So we should see earthquakes break out going up to the west and over to the further west, all the way over to Europe, following these red lines, all in the mid-range 5 level over the next few days. So far, we've reached here in Indonesia. So next stop on the path is going to be over here in Asia. Now, the way we find the spot that's going to be hit is pretty easy. We find the halfway point between our 2 sets of earthquakes, or 3 or 4, or however many sets of quakes we have. Now, look how far apart these are. We have a set of quakes all the way over here at South Iran on our red arrow. Let me zoom in and show it to you in case you're new. And all the way back here, I just showed it to you, a 5.4 on the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. So let's find the halfway point between those 2 areas. But the halfway point isn't going to be a straight line, guys. We got to go around the red bend of the plate. So again, we have earthquakes over here in South Iran, and we have another earthquake down here in Sumatra, Indonesia. We have to go up and around the bend of the plate and back down across Pakistan and find the halfway point that way. Which then puts the halfway point somewhere here, right? Wouldn't you say? Somewhere about there. Somewhere east of Nepal, somewhere between Myanmar and Nepal. Right at the bend of the plate boundary, that halfway point, that fulcrum point between the 2 sets of quakes. And what do we have on one side? Like a 2-arm scale, we have a 5.4 on one side, and on the other side, we have a set of 4s. Let's wait for this to refresh here. Hold on. Sorry, guys, it's rescanning. Taking forever for some reason. There we go. Wait for it. There it is. So, set of 4s here, if you add them together, take this 4.4 plus this 4.4 plus this 4.3, we're at about an upper 4. So let's say 4.9. So about a 5 almost. And then on this side, we have a confirmed 5. So in between the 2, at that middle point, I'd look for something combined total between the 2, which means somewhere in the mid-range 5 level. Something bigger than 5.4, somewhere around 5.4, or a little bit bigger. 5.5 at that middle point. That's how you find the fulcrum point. You find the halfway points between your sets of quakes, whether it's thousands of miles across, or here's a close-in example right here. See where the sets of rings overlap, and it's just a few hundred miles across, where the rings overlap at least on North Philippines here. Now the greater area is between Taiwan and Central Philippines, but that middle point should be struck by something larger than the 4.8 and 4.9. So like a new 5 should be popping off right here at the middle point between these 2 areas, even though they're only a few hundred miles apart, whereas this area here between Iran and Sumatra is thousands of miles apart. Now we can even go down to a further finer point and go down to the smaller earthquakes and find even the smaller earthquake locations, but I'm just trying to find the ones that matter to people, the ones that people would feel, for instance. Over to the west, let's go over into Iran, and the same principle applies. Look where all the rings overlap with one another. That middle point between, what is that, 4 sets of mid-range 4s? Quite literally, they're almost all the same size. Look at it this way. 4.4, 4.4, and then a 4.3, and a 4.6. Guess what? If you take a 4.4 plus a 4.4, you get 4.54. Adding in another 4.3, you're at a 4.67. In other words, if you take these 3 earthquakes and add them up, it equals the 4.6 on the north side. But it's all the same size. Think of this like a 4-arm scale. I don't even know if that exists, but a 4-arm scale where the center balance point between all 4 points is right here, where the rings overlap, right next to Tehran, which we have the arrow there. So something larger than the combined total of all these earthquakes on all sides. So that means a new 5 is incoming here on the north side of the plate boundary next to Tehran and the Caspian Sea. Further to the west, you see it. Now this should pretty much stand out to anybody that you should be able to see. There's a cluster of earthquakes over in Europe, and there's a cluster of earthquakes over in eastern Turkey. And between the 2, it's kind of an open, empty area. Let's wait for it to refresh again. While it's refreshing, here is where we're talking about. The cluster of earthquakes over in eastern Turkey, and the other cluster of earthquakes going across in Italy, going down into Greece. So between those 2 points, let's go back over now and look. Look, there's a giant open silent zone. Let's go back to the USGS map. What's there? The bend of the plate going down around Cyprus. So there's an open area between the 2 sets of quakes that's under stress. And just like that wave tank that I just showed you at the start of the video here, let's show you again. In the tank, you'll notice each wave as it spreads out across the tank starts to fill in the other wave's previous middle point. So I could park my mouse over the middle of the wave and you'll see the empty point fills in and then it gets filled in again and again and again. And it's by the same size waves and the standing wave going through the tank. So what's happening again is the spread going through the tank, but this is the tank, the red line, the plate boundary. And again, we're getting the same sized earthquakes dropped off along the way. So something bigger than what's on both sides, again, like the combining of the waves in the tank, that middle point's going to come under pressure and something bigger will strike in the middle than what's on all sides. So if we take what's on all sides, we have 4s over to the east and 4s over to the west. This means a new upper 425 should be coming in right here. Let's put it at upper 4 level. Coming in right here next to Cyprus on the plate boundary at that middle open point where the rings overlap. Let's carry on over to the west and give you another example where all the rings overlap here. Now, again, we have a pink earthquake from 2 days ago and the rest of the white colored earthquakes from today. You'll notice if you take all the rings and take them into account, that middle point between all of them brings us right in here at the spur boot tip of Italy going out into the Adriatic Sea. Now, hold up. Back to the red line map. Look what goes through the eastern area right by the Adriatic Sea. Do you see the red line? The red line is the plate boundary. It goes up through Italy and dead ends into the Swiss Alps. That middle point on the plate boundary, well, we're going to go look right on the east side. This goes right back into Albania, Montenegro. So Albania, Montenegro is due to get hit, and it's going to be the combined total of everything coming out of here, going over to the west like a flowing river all pooling up right over here. And we look at the middle point, that means a new incoming near 5. Let's add it up. 4.2, 4.9, 4.3, 4.4. That's from several days ago. Okay, so we're going to put it at a 4.9. Again, a near 5. Don't fault me if it comes in a little bigger, but I would think it would probably be in that upper 4 range, right where all the rings overlap. As we go over to the west, my Spanish viewers, which I do have Spanish viewers, so many people asking me about what's going on down in Grenada, Spain. It's just north of Gibraltar right here, right along the mouth of the Mediterranean. And it's been a bunch of mid-range 4s, several mid-range 4s. So at this point, with this many earthquakes striking there, I would like to look it up and just see what's there physically. But as we're looking it up, I just want to tell you, mid-range 4s are definitely enough to cause damage, as you know, now in South Spain. But the good news is, energy is now going out to the west, and I'll show you that in a second. So you built up, I have to remind everybody, this swarm of outbreaks that took place down here in South Spain, look where the arrow is. Now look where it goes. It goes back up to North Italy, right? And we know what just happened up here a couple weeks ago. The biggest earthquake in years struck up here in Croatia, followed by 3s and 4s going across Central Europe. Holland got hit. 5s, mid-range 5s, struck out here next to Jan Mayen in Iceland. Same time that happened, all of a sudden, within a week of that, boom, all of a sudden we're moving down on the south edge of the European craton with big activity. So let's go see what's there. Farm fields, of course. All I'm looking for is, maybe drill points or power stations, nuclear sites. If I see anything like that, of course, I get alarmed and think the earthquake might be related to something else. But all I'm seeing here are orchards. Looks like we also have some kind of reservoir of some kind for water. That would probably be what that was for. The earthquake is coming in again below a farm field. I don't see any high voltage power lines or satellite transmission stations or microwave towers or radar stations. Okay, we want to just check for all that. That can lead to earthquake activity as well. So you're free and clear on the weird point. Now you're just moving because the rest of Europe moved. Now look what's happened since South Spain, the pinkish earthquake. Same sized activity. If you take all that activity in Spain, those 4s, you had a 4.4, another 4.4, 4.1, a 4.0. Let's add them up. 4.4 plus 4.4. There were two 4.4s. That's 4.5. Add in the 4.3, we're at 4.6. Add in the 4.2, we're at 4.7. and add in all the zeros, ones, twos, we might get to an upper 4.7 to 4.8's worth of energy. Total expenditure of energy, 4.7 to 4.8. Why does that matter? Because look what just hit today going out to the west, a 4.7. Same-sized earthquake going out towards the tip of the Canary Islands, which goes out to the Azores. Let's go back to the red line map one more time for Europe. Coming out of Spain, look where the earthquake is. The earthquake is right here on the red line again. The red line goes out to the west, out to the Azores. The Canaries are on the south side of the Azores, and those are all volcanoes and magma chambers on the south side of the red line. So activity went down to the northernmost island, and it's going back up here like a V shape. It's following the road, or maybe going on the outside edge of the road. And the road is trafficking that, and we get the same sized earthquake coming out of Spain that goes over to the Canaries. Again, the wave tank guys. Same sized earthquake spreading out across the red line. Okay? I'm explaining this in detail for new viewers. There's always a new viewer, and there's always maybe a professional or a professor who's listening who is skeptical or in doubt. By the way, if you want to test the method, earthquake forecasting, how to find the middle points and adding up the magnitudes on all sides, I've put out an hour-long video, step-by-step instructions, how to repeat the method. So there's no question you can repeat the method, test it yourself. So the middle points are getting hit, standing waves are spreading out from the deep earthquakes. And the deep earthquakes are hammering off. Let me explain this. Imagine a deep earthquake down here at this end of the tank, and a deep earthquake down here at this end of the tank. And both ends of the tank are compressing and pulling apart. They're pushing together and pulling apart. And as they're pushing together and pulling apart, it pumps more energy into the system. The more it pushes together and pulls apart, the bigger the wave gets, the more amplitude, the more power gets pumped into it. But you notice they don't get disorganized. Instead, the standing wave just becomes more powerful. And what I think's happening is maybe and now I don't know this for certain, but somewhere along the wave, whether it's the top or the bottom, or somewhere in between, that's where the earthquake is happening. And the potential magnitude of the earthquake is determined by where along the wave it's striking. So if the wave's coming up, and the peak of the wave is hitting right at the right point on that red line that I've been showing you this whole update, that's where a big earthquake happens. So as the wave's spreading out, and the peak wave comes up and hits on the red line, the top of the red line, or close to the surface, boom, big earthquake hits. But it could also be the valley. It could be the trough of the wave, the bottom of the wave that's causing the quake. Maybe the wave comes up and goes down, and when it goes down, that's when the quake happens. Or maybe both happen. Maybe it's one at the height, one at the bottom. But they're corresponding. That's the whole point. That they're similar in size as they spread out across the planet. And the deep earthquakes are the part that's hammering in more energy to the system. So you start seeing a whole bunch of deep earthquakes hammer into the system. You start watching the system, the red lines, for a release of the energy as it spreads out across the wave tank. Now, let's get into South America, Central America. This is the way the energy flows. Starts here in the West Pacific, goes over to Europe. Beeline to Europe, following that red line I've been showing you since the update started. Second way the energy flows starts in the West Pacific, goes up to the north, goes up into Japan and Kamchatka, reaching over into Alaska. The third way the energy flows is across, and we'll get into across in just a moment. Let me recap what happened in the past 2 days, going up to Japan. I already mentioned this, that we'll watch between the 4.9 and 4.8 for a new 5 to pop off at that middle point. Well, look what happened on the other side of the plate boundary. We have a 4.6. Do you see this? It's right next to Guam. Let me show you the tiny island of Guam, just so you know where Guam is. Here is Guam. So we have a 4.6 striking on one side. Let me show you each side so you understand what I'm talking about. This thing, the plate, one side and the other. Basically the same sized quakes, 4.8, 4.6. Now, a new 5 is going to pop off here, in between the two sets of quakes. I've already told you that now 3 times. Over on the western side, where the rings overlap here, new 5 should pop off. Well, that means a new 5 should also pop off at the middle point between these quakes and this quake, the halfway point, on both sides. So a new 5 should pop off here on the Izu Ridge. Then, like a table tennis match or ping pong or whatever, we would go over here and we have the middle point at Kyushu. And Kyushu would also get hit by a similar sized quake in the 5-ish range. So it should be 5 at the middle point, 5 at the middle point, 5 at the middle point as we go to the north. Once we get to the north, let's go back to the red line map. We get to the H-shaped bend, the connection point between the two plate boundaries, going right across Tokyo of all things. That quite literally is, I'm not exaggerating there, there's Tokyo. So energy should pull back up here right at the H-shaped bend. Both of these areas on both sides, the energy should come back together like two rivers recombining. Spreads out, like imagine one river that spreads out two ways, and then it recombines here without much loss of energy. So that means new 5.0 plus activity, something bigger, the combined total of what's coming up from the south to strike at Tokyo. So it could be 5.1, 5.2, something bigger than the total coming in from both sides on the south. Where they recombine, that's where the bigger is going to strike. Now it gets into a hot mess here, where there's a boatload of earthquakes, but look at the size of the quakes. Do you notice anything? Again, I'm showing you everything 2.0 and greater. Once we get on the coast of Japan, we have a 4.6, another 4.6, another 4.6, another 4.6, and another 4.6. Imagine it like this, 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, and it's spread out from 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, 4.6, up the red line, going up to Kamchatka. Now, at the tail end, up in Kamchatka, we get a bigger earthquake. So imagine all those waves going and pooling up at the bend in the plate at Kamchatka, up here. 4.6 is coming up, pools up here, boom, new earthquake strikes there. Guess what's been happening at the middle point between our two previous earthquakes? Let's go over and look at the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center, see who's on the list. So, Fuego in Guatemala, Sanjay in Ecuador, Popocatépetl in Mexico, Sabancaya in Peru, Sakurajima in Japan, Sanjay in Ecuador, Fuego in Guatemala, Sakurajima in Japan. We keep repeating the same volcanoes over and over again. I'm looking for anything up to the north. Oh, wait. We have Karangatang erupting down in Indonesia with a 10,000-foot high blast. That is a new addition to the list that we don't normally see. I'm looking for anything up in Russia over the last 2 days. Ah, yes. Okay. Yesterday, Khrushchevskoye erupted. Do we have any others? Oh, several eruptions at Khrushchevskoye. A 20,000-foot high blast. Ebeko also erupting right next to it. Okay, that matters tremendously. Let me show you where they are. Okay, Ebeko, right here. Tip of the Kuril Islands, and Khrushchevskoye is here on Kamchatka's peninsula. That middle point between the previous sets of earthquakes. As we jump across the Pacific, same-sized activity, exact same size, 5.5 to 5.6. Remember, we were talking about a 5.6 at the start of the update here in Indonesia, going out to the west, following the red lines of the plate boundary over to the west, 5.6. Well, look what happened. Over here, let's follow our arrows again. And at the tip of the arrow, where the plate boundaries come together, Panama, going off to the coast of Colombia. Here's Panama. Here's the coast of Colombia. And here's our new 5.6 right off the coast of Panama. Now let's go back to the plate boundary map. Look what's off the coast of Panama. Do you see it? The red line of the plate boundary, and look where it goes. It goes back to the west, goes back to the south, and connects down to the south and goes back over to the east. Now, that's where we have our arrows, our big arrows. Our big arrows tell us that energy comes across and goes up to the north, tries to spread around South America to the north. And it does the same thing. It tries to spread around down to the south. And look what happened. A new outbreak at the previous 7.1 earthquake, which I will just call that aftershocks, carrying on at a 5.0 level down here next to Antarctica. But look, 5.2 to 5.3, right in the middle of it all. Right here. So, 5.6 up here, 7.1 and 5.0 swarm down here. And the halfway point between those 2 points, again, let's look at it. We got a quake up here off the coast of Panama. We have quakes down here right at the plate boundary between Antarctica and South America. We go up and around the bend of the plate. This is the halfway point. And that is the spot that broke. but it's thousands of miles across, and it broke with a new 5 right in the middle of it. 5.2. Now, make note of the other earthquakes. Do you know the size again? 4.4 again, we're dealing with those. And we go up to the north, and Venezuela got hit. Check Venezuela off the list. We warned them for 5.0 activity. And, well, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone there. Hold on. Oh, God, hold on. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. It, like, squeaks if you move it. It's really annoying. I need to get a new mic. Okay. 4.7. I'm using a snowball mic, by the way, if you want to know what's making my voice sound so excellent this evening, other than my own vocal cords. 4.7. Right here at the border of Venezuela. Now, we warned right at the arrow for 5.0, so I'll consider that an earthquake forecast hit. The reason we warned, energy goes around the northern part of South America. USGS plate boundary map, look what they've got. Red line going into Venezuela, and nothing across all of northern South America, but please spare me. If we go over and look on Google Earth even, you'll see the mountain range connects. For some reason, they just, for whatever reason, have not put the plate boundary connecting across, even though it does. And that's which way their earthquakes flow. That's why we have a little red arrow there. So 5.6 on one side of the plate, 5.6 on the other. Sounds like what happened last week. Only last week it was 7 on one side of the plate in Indonesia and 7 on the other side of the plate. So this time we're dealing with just a little bit less. It's like a tennis match back and forth. United States. Well, first of all, let's talk about Hawaii. USGS just put out a really interesting, informative update. Everything in it, spot on. Spot on. They even talk about how they didn't get warnings beforehand, except for like a couple hours beforehand with the tilt meters and sulfur dioxide readings. But a new outbreak of earthquakes is taking place again now, and it's going up around Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea again, and it's starting to creep up in magnitudes around Mauna Loa. So previously we were at the Middle East Rift Zone, which I should probably show to you on Google Earth. I'm not saying anything's going to happen yet, but like I said last time, the seismic is what I'm paying attention to now. So tilt meters and sulfur dioxide levels are just, I'll find out about those afterwards. I'm paying attention to the seismic, and seismic says that Mauna Kea is getting hit again, all the way around Mauna Loa is getting hit again, and we're back down here, and there's a line of quakes along the coast again. Do you see that? This is in the past, let's see, 2 days? Let's wait for it to refresh again, but it's about 2 days worth of earthquakes. And that happened previously before the eruption at Kilauea, but this time it's in the 3 range, and it's going out to the west. So we have to go look it up. Look, we're out to the west side of the Big Island. Now, this happened before, a couple of years ago. Outbreak of earthquakes going around the whole island. And it happened right before the last eruption. I think it was 2014, 2015. And then 2018 it happened. And then it just happened again for this last blast. So it's happening again now. I don't know if it means a new eruption, but as far as I can see, there's no volcanic fields marked out here. But look at all the undersea mounts. Hold on. Okay, these little conical shapes that are here, those are undersea mount volcanoes. There's no doubt about that. There's a whole bunch of them. Some of them are better image. They have like crater-like shapes on them. Okay, so we have undersea mounts at Laird Knoll. Laird. Oh. Dinnafash. Dinnafash, Sussenik. Ah, you're my Laird. All right, guys. Scotch. There's a Scotch earthquake up in here. Okay, aloha, guys. Let's get back to it. We have a line of earthquakes going around the outside edge of the Big Island, but mainly let's zoom in on the side view of the Big Island. Here we are. Zoom it in, bring it in, zoom it in, Samoa. There's Mauna Loa. And you can see Mauna Loa is actually backdropped by Mauna Kea. And in front of Mauna Loa, or at the foot of or the base of, that's the Middle East Rift Zone, and that's Kilauea right here where the red triangle is, with the collapsed crater. Now, it's erupting inside the crater. And they just said in their new conference that in the month, starting December, listen to this, guys. Starting December, they noticed that magma was starting to intrude or come back into the Middle East Rift Zone. This is in a conference they just put out. And now we know in the month leading up to the Kilauea eruption that just happened again on December 20th, last month. In the month leading up to that, a bunch of deep earthquakes started to hammer off around the Pacific, and we were watching other volcanoes erupt. The 50,000-foot-high blasts happen. 2 back-to-back 50,000-foot-high blasts happen over in Indonesia. There's a bunch of deep earthquakes hammering off. And guess what happened? This. A bunch of earthquakes took place, spreading down to the ocean on the south point of the island. That's Loihi Seamount out in the ocean. Going up around Mauna Loa, going up to Mauna Kea, and spread all the way up to Maui and Kahului up on the next island up with earthquakes all the way around it. And they went up to Mauna Kea, and it went up to near 4.0. It did actually go to 4, and they downgraded him to 3.5 or whatever. But it was 4 at Mauna Loa, 4 at Mauna Kea. Both volcanoes. Let's go back over to the Google Earth again and take a look. 4 on the north side, top of Mauna Loa and a swarm, and a 4 on the north side of Mauna Kea and a swarm. And they downgraded the 4s to 3s, whatever, or mid-range 3s. Nonetheless, earthquake swarm at Mauna Loa, earthquake swarm at Mauna Kea, earthquake swarm out here off the coast of Loihi, going along the coast back up to the Middle East Rift Zone. That all happened now 3 times, and each time there was a new eruption afterwards within a short period of time, within a few weeks, maybe to a month at the most. I'm not saying that's going to happen now. I'm saying it's erupting now, so is there going to be another eruption? Probably not. It would just increase, or things would carry on in the Middle East Rift Zone, since that's where the puncture point is. But if we start seeing a bunch of new deep earthquakes, like we've been seeing, and a bunch of new 7s pop off around the plate, like we've been seeing this past week, that maybe that the hammering action that I've been talking about on the underside of the plate, spreading through the red lines, spreads through the plate too, we know that, but if there's a magma chamber nestled in here, and these waves are hammering up into the plate and through it, that the up and down of the greater wave passing through the plate could maybe influence a cycle of up and down activity at the volcanoes. I'm just proposing it. I'm not saying it's not my theory even. It's just a hypothesis. I'm just throwing that out there that it's possible that if a wave, a VLF, or very low frequency, or tension wave, or some kind we don't have a word for yet, that tension wave, or VLF, or very low frequency, or whatever you want to call it, as it's passing through the plate, it's hitting the magma chamber, and it could be amplified, or at least have a wave effect inside the chamber, which then causes a pressure to come up, pushes the actual magma or pressure in it, and we get an outbreak taking place. Meow. Meow. Ah, the kitty cat says pitter-pat and says, "Can I find a place to lay my beautiful little head?" What do you say, Wednesday? Say hi to your international audience. They would all like to hear you. Okay, well, she'll talk when I talk. If I'm talking about something for too long, she tells me to move it along. Okay, lower 48, including Hawaii. Well, guys, or actually I should include Alaska here. Hold on. Alaska has a line of quakes coming out of the Aleutians going up past Anchorage. And the new earthquake came in just southeast of Anchorage by about 150 miles. So that's within the earthquake forecast range zone, within 200 miles. And it came in at 4.7. Let's see if that's still on here. Is it? Oh, 4.8. Okay. Well, I was looking for 5.0, and it came in at 4.8. And again, you can see where it is, and we had warned right here. So it is within the zone, but the energy then further transferred down across to the coast. Oh, meow. Meow. The energy then transferred down to the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, and we saw a new outbreak of 4.0 range activity in the past few days, going up to 4.6. So a 4.8 came in, and a 4.6 comes out. In other words, like not much loss of energy at all. Let's go show it to you on the plate boundary map here. There we are. The Juan de Fuca fracture zone. And the jagged edges of the Juan de Fuca point into North America. I want you to remember that. Remember where these jagged edges are, too. So off the coast of Vancouver Island, another set of jagged edges off the coast of Washington-Oregon border region. That's the axial seamount where some volcanoes are. We have another jagged edge here right at Central Oregon, and another jagged edge down here in Southwest Oregon. And then the end of it goes into Northern California. So remember where those pinnacle points are, because there's something that happens on land corresponding to the plate. Let me show it to you. Hold on. Wednesday. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come hither, Smithers. Oh, hold on, guys. Hey, look at this map here really quick. Hey, Mama's got some food for you. Look at that. Her ears perked up and everything. All right. Yeah, you can shut it. Thank you. Totally. Awesome. Okay, well, never mind. Hey, you know what? I don't even have to get out of here. Now you've had a chance to soak in what's on the screen. And the cat told you to listen. In case you didn't know, that's what she was telling you to do. So, the red dots on the screen. Every little red dot is a little vibration as the plate is shifting slightly. And it does have a magnitude assigned to it, but it's not really an earthquake. So let's go back over to the plate boundary map. Here on land, up in Vancouver Island, going down into the Strait of Juan de Fuca, just north of Washington, all those red dots signify the plate is shifting on land, going down a few kilometers. Now down below that, and out in the ocean, is this. The crack in the plate. Now the plate crack actually belongs to the Pacific plate. And so the Pacific plate is the plate that's in motion for the most part, and it's pushing into North America. So these arrows of the plate crack, basically, point into Vancouver Island. And that's where it's shifting. Now follow it down to the south, and you see we're right here at the California-Oregon border. And you see out here, we have the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. And look, out in the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, that's where the 4.6 earthquake just struck. So we got a 4.6 earthquake and some other 2s and 3s, and a new outbreak or little tremor swarm taking place right here at the California-Nevada border. Let's go back to the tremors. These are the tremors as of today, 715. Let's go back a day. 663. Look where they are. They're all, well, except for, 5? All centered up in Vancouver Island. 5 or 6 of them are right at the Washington-Oregon border region again. Now, remember what I told you about that, because that corresponds with this point out here, this jagged edge. Go right into the east, and that's where the little tremors are taking place. Volcanoes out here, down below, and up above, on land, shifting, tremoring. Think of this like the bottom of a bathtub, and this is the side of the bathtub. And you can sit on the side and put your feet down on the bottom, right? Well, down in the bottom are cracks, and the cracks are pushing to the side and up and into. And so you're going from the bottom up into the top. Even though this is bending down over it, the actual energy or tension or transfer or whatever, however you want to put it, is coming up through the plate and pushing the plate with the little vibrations, and the plate is rising or shifting or going laterally, could be going north, south, east, west, up, down, I don't know. But the tremors indicate that it's happening in Vancouver Island today, and we go back another day before that, the 28th, and you see, look at that. Do you see the spacing on this? The only thing missing is the tremor swarm that we had last week here in Washington. Now, if you had that tremor swarm mixed in, it would be a perfect spacing of the tremors. Now, wait, perfect spacing. Look, how many times are we going to be talking about this? But instead of earthquakes now, we're talking about vibrations as the plate's shifting. And you can see it. Each point corresponds with a break point where the plate comes into North America. So, again, tremors here, tremors here, tremors here, tremors here, and tremors here. All corresponding points on the Juan de Fuca fracture zone that push into North America. Now, guess what happens when all this shifts? When you get a shift from Vancouver down to California, along the coast, vibrating, shifting, as the plate is physically shifting now. Don't think of these like earthquakes with breaks in the plate, not faulting. It's the plate vibrating past one another. Maybe a pocket Maybe an actual spot where it's scraping, maybe 2 spots where it is, or 4 or 8. But it's spreading down the plate into California, starting 28th, going forward to the 29th. It focuses in to the north. Going forward to today, the 30th. Whoop. There we go, 130. There we are. Now you'll notice a new pocket has started to develop on the southern arm of this. It was all up here to the north, right? Like a shifting, balancing scale. Now we're down on the south side. Well, what's on the south side? Look, we're shifting right in here at the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca. So I would imagine this to be being pushed from the north up and into the plate, and now the south end is compensating and moving. The next step on this is a boatload of earthquakes to light up across California and the edge of the craton. Let's go look at the small earthquakes for the last 24 hours. See what's going on. USGS feed last 24 hours. Then we'll look at 7 days, but first things first. 24 hours time. Texas. Well, I mean, it's a perfect place to start. Look at the Craton Edge in Texas. Notice anything? That's where the earthquakes are now. Guess what's there? Drill points. Are you shocked? Do I need to show them to you? For new viewers, I might need to show, so let's go show them. But they've drilled along the edge of the North American Craton to get oil and gas. And it aids in energy transferring across the plate, following that brown, rusty color. So the outside edge of the interior portion of the craton, the energy follows. Let's find our nearest pumping operations. Here they are. So you'll see dried out beds that are designed to collect rainwater, where they will then collect that water, mix it with chemicals, pump it down into the ground as wastewater to break apart the shale to release the gas and oil. Process called fracking and wastewater disposal. And all of these, well, here, let me show you. You might not be able to see them if you're not full screen, or every one of these little pads. It looks like a grid on the ground, doesn't it? Every one of them. These aren't houses. These are all drill points. And I could just keep going. There are millions of drill points here. And so they've perforated the edge of the plate. And that's where the earthquakes are. Now look up to the northeast. Canadians, hey, get your Molsons. You got 2.0 activity that struck at the main Quebec border region. But something else happened. Let's go turn back on our 7-day feed. Wait till you see this. We issued a warning for the New York-Quebec border region for this week. And look what happened. How about that? New York, Quebec, both got hit directly. This is in the past 3 days. So really what I want you to do now is look at the last 7 days worth of quakes, and this is 7 days 0.0 and greater, and compare to the Craton. Notice, Colorado, well, maybe you can't see it here. Hold on, let me turn off the magnitudes so you can just see the rings. Now you should be able to see it a little better. Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and then up the East Coast. Last week, we add in Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, this southern U-shape. So if you take the 2 weeks in together, the whole Craton Edge moved, including the northeast, up at New York's border. The reason I warned the New York border is because it was the previous point between Maine and Virginia. Maine and Virginia were hit last week. And that prompted me to issue the new middle halfway point warning for New York's border. And now it's been hit. I'm not bragging, I just have to tell you. Again, it's not like it gets hit every day. But the line of earthquakes in the last 7 days going through Colorado, well, the Colorado earthquakes here, drill points as well. Let me zoom in on them. Right here, Trinidad, Colorado. Tens of thousands of oil and gas drill points there. Tens of thousands of drill points here. Texas, tens of thousands of drill points, actually hundreds of thousands, across Oklahoma, and every single one of these earthquakes in Oklahoma, every one of them, is directly next to a drill point. And if you don't believe me, just go grab the coordinates, put them in anywhere, and you'll find them. I mean, we're talking within a few hundred feet, each one, of a different drill point. Same within Arkansas right here at Central Arkansas, BB Greenbrier. This is where it all started with the fracking. So this is a drill point 2. And again, I can prove this. Again, if you don't believe me, it's not a matter of belief. I just don't have the time to look up every single earthquake. I would never, look, I already knew it was Greenbrier without even looking it up. The only reason I know this is because back in 2011, this is where I got my start. A bunch of earthquakes, thousands of earthquakes, broke out at Greenbrier or BB. They tried to say it was natural. But I zoomed in on the areas and I started finding these. And I zoomed in and I found drill points and oil wells and the jacks and the pumps, and they were all over the place. Again, we have them all over the place. Look, there's more right here. And professionals tried to deny the relation between all the fracking ops. Again, you see how many there are? Every one of these little pads you think was like a farm or something, but it's not. It's a drill point. So anyway, a bunch of earthquakes happened here. Then thousands of birds started falling out of the sky. Thousands. It was on the news. It was on New Year's Eve. They tried to blame it on fireworks. Earthquakes broke out there. Birds falling out of the sky. I started making videos in December of 2010 talking about that. Yeah, December 2010. Anyway, we have a new earthquake there. Now we get over here and we're right at the town of the New Madrid seismic, the town of New Madrid in the middle of the New Madrid seismic zone, which itself is on the edge of the North American craton. There are no drill points there. But I want to show you why the New Madrid seismic zone is getting hit and why it got hit with the big one a long time ago, and probably why it'll get hit again at some point in the future with another huge earthquake. First of all, we need to turn off all of my gobbledygook and pick your favorite state, but just remember this is Missouri, and the New Madrid seismic zone is right down here in South Missouri. Here's the town of New Madrid right here. And it is New Madrid, it's not New Madrid. But southern Missouri, now we're going to turn off the borders and labels so I can really show this to you. Going up and around through central Missouri, all these are foothills. And I live here, by the way. I live just west of St. Louis right here. But you see the folds and bends in Arkansas. Now, once we get to the Mississippi River Valley, this is all erosion from the river, but you can see the shape of the mountains makes an N-shaped bend. So like the town of New Madrid, you can remember this as the lowercase cursive N-shaped bend of the North American plate. Now you also see the edge of the craton goes up the east coast and goes back up to where our other earthquake struck, right up here at the New York-Quebec border region. So this N-shaped bend, in the past, energy would go across the whole craton, going down through Colorado, down through Texas, making that U-shaped bend in Texas and going back over to the east. Now this looks like a river down in Texas, doesn't it? It's a 1,000-foot rise from here to here, all the way along it. And this goes up through Dallas, right through the middle of Dallas. That's where the craton edge goes. Weird, huh? But this is the southern edge of the bulging edge of the craton. And it goes back up through New Mexico, back up across Colorado, back up across Montana, back up into Canada, and back up to the west, northwest. Okay, now that you understand that, that's the superhighway that the energy flows across. We get back over here, and the New Madrid seismic zone in the past, energy would flow down and around and over, get to here, and look how steep of a bend that is. Do you see that? The rest of it's kind of flowing. Like a long, flowing, meandering river down through Texas. Then it gets here, and it gets stuck up. And I think in the past, it had many buckling events that formed the New Madrid seismic zone, the N-shaped bend, the foothills of Missouri, etc. But now humans have stepped in with all the drill points, going back across Arkansas, back over into Oklahoma and Kansas, back down across the edge of the craton through Texas, back up into Colorado, and those are all drilled now. So now we see the earthquakes come across the edge of the craton, and by the time they get to the New Madrid seismic zone, some of the energy has actually been either expended or transferred out across the area enough that it's diffusing out by the time it gets to the New Madrid seismic zone. But I would think at some point, a push big enough will come across, it'll get caught up here on the New Madrid again, and we'll get another big buckling event in the middle of the plate, and it'll form new foothills, it'll cause devastation. I'll definitely feel it, If I'm around to report after that, maybe a few years after we get electricity back, I will be back to talk about it. Okay, but until then, the earthquakes go over to the east, and we want to see the energy go up to the northeast. So seeing this actually is good. Seeing the earthquakes up in the northeast means energy from the previous push has gone across all the way up to the northeast. The only thing missing now is a new earthquake between Missouri and the northeast, following the edge of the craton. Hey, actually, let's just go ahead and warn for that. Virginia. Let's warn Virginia. Yeah, let's do it. Watch Virginia for 3.0 plus activity. Again, we have 2s on all sides. So I would take all the 2s and add them together, and something bigger will strike in the middle. So watch Virginia. It'll be a perfect example of place getting hit at the middle point. Now, let's turn back on the 24-hour earthquake feed. Look at the West Coast. Good old West Coast United States. How you doing out there, guys? Well, it's only 7:25 out there. It's still early. Okay, 24 hours worth of quakes, USGS, starting in the Pacific Northwest. Wait. One day, USGS. Hold on. I just got to make sure. Dang. Okay. One earthquake at Idaho. One earthquake in Montana on the edge of the craton. One at each spot, guys. For any longtime viewer, you know that means the faucet's been turned off. But another way to look at it would be more like a dam has been put up. And we know where that dam is. That's where all the vibrating's going on right now. Southern arm's moving. That's the ford down to the south. But over to the east, the flow has been cut off down to the edge of the craton going into Yellowstone. This means something's building and will strike. Whoa. You okay? What was that? Some kind of giant thud in the other room. All right. We had our own little earthquake. A cat quake. Feline quake. They're protesting. They're locked out of the room right now. Anyway, okay, so we have one quake above the deepest part of the magma chamber for Yellowstone, which Yellowstone is over here at the Wyoming border, but it's actually 11 Grand Canyons in size magma chamber that goes down 30 or more kilometers and spreads out across central Idaho, with the feeder for it coming below Oregon. So Yellowstone's being fed from technically below Oregon, and it's coming up at an angle below Idaho and then coming to the surface up at Wyoming. So the earthquakes that strike above the magma chamber indicate that the magma chamber is on the move, there's new stress coming in. But in this case, I would think of this like a dam has been now held up and, well, it's going to let free. And when it does, it's going to be more like pulling the pinball spring back and letting it go. And this would be the point where it hits. So we would be looking for a new earthquake to strike on land. Now that this has started to shift, I would look over to the east on the edge of the craton where it's quiet right now. And we would watch Idaho, we'd watch Yellowstone, Montana. We'd watch in this area, this 3-state area, right down in the middle of it, which is Yellowstone Park, basically, for new activity to break out. Now, how big? It would be at least as big as what strikes over here, and that was a 4.6 out in the ocean on the south arm of the Juan de Fuca. This is all shifting on land. Stands to reason the craton should shift. After that, Utah. So let's go ahead and tell people right now in Salt Lake City, get ready for movement. I have to wait for the activity to come in before I can give you a magnitude, but I would say it would be in the 4 range. We would also warn Oklahoma for a new 4.0 activity to come in at the Kansas side of the border or very close to it. It's getting ready to happen, guys. The plate's shifting. Hundreds of tremors per day now. We're back to an ETS, or very close to it. The professionals call it an episodic tremor slip. One more time, let me show it to you. Tremor map. These little red dots. But they have a threshold for it, the professionals do. I don't know what their threshold is. I think it's a sliding scale. They're going to get really pissed at me for saying that. Anyway, they got a sliding scale by which they judge this ETS shit. Now, pardon. Oh, my. Oh, okay, I'm out. All right, S word. Getting too casual. Sorry, guys. It's like we're hanging out. That's how it goes when you talk for 2 hours straight. The truth comes out. So here they are. Again, they call it an ETS when there's a certain number of these little red dots that you see on the screen. And I don't know what the threshold is, but I would say once we get to several hundred per day and it goes on for a few days, that yes, the plate is indeed shifting more than normal. So normal would be 10, 20, 30, 50. You start seeing 700, 800, 900 per day, you know something's going on. So it's shifting, the plate's shifting, and when that happens, then the rest of the plate compensates. Look, what do you think's going to happen when this moves up here in the 3-state area, or 4-state area, California, Oregon, Washington, and technically Vancouver Island? When that whole area shifts, what do you think's going to happen downstream from it? That there's a flow to this across the rest of the plate. So, yeah, Pacific Northwest up by Yellowstone, do. Going down to Utah, do. Going over to Oklahoma, Kansas border, do. And it should be in the 4 range in the next few days. Few days, I mean it, so let's just put a date on this. 31st, 1st, 2nd. Let's say by the 3rd. If we don't see this happen by the 3rd, I'll be shocked, because the plate's shifting right now. With all the little red dots, those already happened. Those happened today. Now, coming out of the Juan de Fuca, you'll also notice something compared to where we were a couple days ago. If you've been tuned into my live updates over on Twitch, which I have not been saving for a reason, but now we're saving this one. If you were tuned in over the past several days, you saw this stack here at Geysers and Clear Lake Volcano up off the screen. You'll notice now it's down off the screen. Again, this is 24 hours, and it's all zeros, ones. Now, just south of there, just north of the Bay Area in the Napa Valley area, we have a new swarm outbreak 2s. So, in other words, more activity just south of the volcano, less activity at the volcano itself, and less magnitude, less amplitude, less power. So let's go back to the wave tank. Let's go back to where the wave starts. All right, see how that's pretty big? Let's go back to where it starts. Really small. Just a little vibration in the tank. The flow has been cut off to California as well, and we know where the flow is coming from. It's coming from out in the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. Look which way the San Andreas goes, down to the east-southeast. So this is all shifting, or this is where the tension's coming from out in the ocean. It's pushing into land, earthquakes along the way, those 4s. Then on land, it's vibrating and moving. From there, over to the east, it's all gone quiet. It's gone quiet down to the south, down in Northern California where the volcano is. This is a confirmed volcano where this green, newest colored earthquake is. It's called the Geysers. The name speaks for itself, Clear Lake Volcano. They drilled into this thing to get electricity, get steam to turn turbines. The rest of the earthquakes are going up to the north. We're in the north tip of the valley. I want to go up here really quick. Go take a look and see what's up there. EMSC has it at 2.0, but we're not using the EMSC if we don't have to. They're hitting me with false earthquake information coming from the EMSC. Somebody at the EMSC does not like me. And they hit only my copy of Earthquake 3D, which means they deliberately got my IP address and pinged my copy of Earthquake 3D. Isn't that illegal in Europe to do? Isn't that illegal anywhere to do? Okay, anyway. Here we are. We're in Northern California. Let's turn our borders and labels back on. Let's also turn all our place marks for volcanoes. Look where we're next to. We have an earthquake right next to the town of Paradise, California, Chico, California. We're just west of Paradise. We're out here in the valley. Now, I don't know if there's anything of any significance out here in the valley. Let's go take a look. This is most likely for farming. Yeah, that's going to be for farming. That's like water irrigation. But down to the west-southwest, we have drill points. Let me show some to you so you know what you look for. Sutter Buttes, right here, these volcanoes. By the way, there's a set of volcanoes right here in the middle of the valley. In case you didn't know, they're called the Sutter Buttes. There's the Smithsonian if you need it. But on the side of Sutter Buttes, they started drilling in. Now, this may have been originally for geothermal, but from what I understand, they are also getting gas out of this, natural gas. Maybe it's a hot geothermal gas. But these tanks and the pumps and the jacks and the pipelines are all around here, and it goes around the volcano down into the fields to the south. You see them? It just goes straight from at the volcano right across the farm fields and keeps going. And the same thing's going on right up here. There's some methane or something coming out. It's like wetlands or swampy there. Okay, that's where the 2.0 earthquake is, just to the north of. The drill points, next to Paradise, north tip of the valley, but wait, put on the brakes. North tip of the valley. Let's go back a day. Let's go back a day before that. Sorry, 28th. Looky there. Looky here, as we say here in Missouri. Look, right across the north tip of the valley. Again, let's zoom in and show you where the Sutter Buttes are. Here are the Sutter Buttes. Our new earthquake is striking right here. And 3 days ago, or 2.5 days ago, it shifted. The little red dots. And look at it. It's like a line, too. It really is a line pointing back up to this. Let's go back to the USGS map. In the center part of the valley, where they don't have anything marked, it shifted going up in this direction, though, following, you see it, the San Andreas, the thick red line. So the San Andreas is the plate boundary, but mimicking it were these tremors a couple days ago, right now, where we have a new earthquake breaking out. Interesting, right? Now, once we get down past Napa Valley, again, like I said, we are on the San Andreas. We're in the Hayward Fault, actually, going across over into the creeping section of the San Andreas here, where we're spaced with quakes, ones only. And there's few. But this spot just got the most rain. It rained and rained and rained, and then across the valley, it snowed and snowed and snowed. They've got, what is it, 10 feet? Wait, maybe it was more than that. 10 feet of snow over on the east side of California. All over here, Mammoth Mountain, all buried in feet, just many feet of snow. And the rain came over and crossed and dumped. I watched it for a whole day on the radar, dumping right here on the San Andreas, directly on it. Just maybe billions of gallons of water. I don't know, certainly millions. And all across the red line of the San Andreas. Whoops, wrong map. Here. So water weight can play into earthquake activity. I'm not saying that's going to happen now, but look at the size. It's 1.4 and 1.4, and we stop here at San Ardo, California, on the San Andreas, right at the surface, at the creeping section. This is all low. I would expect this to dramatically increase. And I mean, you guys are going to notice a difference when you look in the next several days. This week, it should flare up. People will be talking about it, California. Swarms of earthquakes, bigger quakes coming in. The 7s we haven't done away with yet, internationally. Here's the San Andreas. You can see it in the mountains itself, this diagonal line. And let's go back over and show it to you on the USGS map. Here's the San Andreas. The earthquakes come down to San Ardo and stop. Let's pull it up right here. They stop right here. But look over to the east. Do you see this? It kind of branches off like a river. Let me back it out so you can see it even more. Branches off almost like a river, the mountain does. And it goes over here to the east and goes into this. Well, over here, they've drilled thousands of times for oil and gas. And our earthquakes come down to this point where the drill points start, and they tend to putter out. But then, the same-sized earthquakes tend to pick back up down here at the south tip of the valley, right where the drill points stop. So in other words, the earthquakes come down the San Andreas to where the drill points start, and then they pick back up where the drill points stop down here. And I'm not exaggerating. Look how much they've drilled down here. This is the San Andreas, this diagonal line of mountains, and these are the tens of thousands of drill points they've done right up to the dang fault. It even gets closer down here. You see them all? And they've done the whole mountain range this way. And we go back over here, and this mountain range, I like to show this just to give people a perspective size of what the drilling really is. Again, this is the San Andreas. And all of this is drilled hundreds of thousands of times. Here's a mountain range. And it used to look like this, with gullies, hilltops. Here's a road, for instance, for size perspective that you could drive a truck down or something. Now, we're going to jump right across the other side, and you'll see they've scraped off every hilltop and every gully and valley. And they did the whole mountain range that way, and it's nothing. It looks like sand dunes at this point because they scraped off every hilltop and everything and put in nothing but oil and gas, this whole thing. Now, you can see, again, natural, and then where they pick up with the drill points. And then you follow it, and you do see they did the whole mountain range this way. And then it goes from the mountain range into these. That's not quarries. These are all drill points. And it goes from those up to these. And it goes from those up to these. And it goes from those over to these. And it goes from these all the way up, following up here to the north. And let's see, where it skips over this right here, skips over this 3-mile stretch. And we get right to here and we pick back up at the drill points, going up to where I just brought you from, Colinga, where there's more, tens of thousands of drill points. So they drill the hell out of it, and the earthquakes come down to where the drill points start, and the earthquakes pick back up down where the drill points start. It's like a conduit or superhighway for the energy to flow across. So the next thing that should happen here is new earthquakes should pop off down here at the south tip of the valley. And it should be the combined total of everything coming down. If you take all the zeros, ones, twos, it would mean something in the 2-ish range should be coming in down here in the south tip of the valley, for instance, coming out of the system. But look what's there. It dead ends into the Garlock Fault, and it goes northeast to southwest, whereas the rest of the faults and the rest of the plate are going northwest to southeast. You see the Garlock's going right across California. It's kind of like a wall standing in the way of any energy coming down from the north, whether it's coming down from the California-Nevada border or whether it's coming down along the coast on the San Andreas. It hits the Garlock, and it has to spread out across the Garlock before it can go any further down into Southern California. Another way to look at it is energy comes down this, energy comes down this, it focuses in on this, and then spreads out across all of this down in Southern California. This is like the focus point, and then it spreads across the Mojave Desert and across Southern California. Let's look at the earthquakes and just prove that to you. So we already talked about the line going across the coast. How about the line going across the California-Nevada border? It, too, the number of earthquakes is low. Low. Low in the number, low in the magnitude, amplitude, the power behind it. Low, low, low. It's low along the coast. It's low along the border. It's low up at the volcanoes up to the north. The number of quakes has dropped off. But you'll notice it's in 3 distinct spots. One on the California side of the border, one on the Nevada side of the border. Actually, 4 distinct spots. One in between the two, directly at the middle point between the two on the border. And then the 4th spot down here to the south. All of these locations are directly at volcanoes. So here, volcano, here. And they're big volcanoes. They're not like just small little buttes or something. I'll show them to you. Here over to the east, Monte Cristo Hills volcanic buttes, for instance, and down here to the south, China Lake. But picture speaks 1,000 words. Let's show it to you. Here's Long Valley Caldera where we start, right at the border with these. Mammoth Mountain, I just talked about it a few minutes ago. Here is Mammoth Mountain, the ski resort town / volcano. This is a smaller volcano on the side of the greater caldera. This is a supervolcano. So the supervolcano is getting hit with earthquakes and 10 feet of snow, which is going to add weight on the surface, that's for sure. Now going up to the border, it's Mono Lake, which I've been mispronouncing for the last 20 years. I've been calling it Mono Lake, but it's Mono Lake, and it's rising Pahoa Island out of the center of the basin that's filled with water. It's a huge volcanic field, and it has smaller buttes going over to the east, right to the border. That's where the earthquakes are, at the smaller buttes. Here, here, and here. These are small volcano buttes on the east side of Mono Lake. And they carry on over to the east. There's another one here, an eruptive point. You can actually see the red. Well, here, hold on back there. There you go. You can see that. Wait, we have a hot spot there. A temporarily filtered hotspot at Mono Lake in the water. This is a geothermal field. Like geysers are there. Okay, wow, we have a detected hotspot there today. Over across the border, that's geothermal, guys. There's something going on. That means earthquake. That means earthquake. That's the only thing it could mean. Dang, okay. Well, let's issue a new warning right now based on the hotspot only. I'm not basing it on anything else other than the flow has been cut off. We're going to expect... I've already used the analogy of a pinball game. And back up here is where we're pulling the spring back. Like you're getting ready to hit the ball. And this is the ball. So pulling it back, going to spring in, boom, and hit in. And when it does, it pushes down across California. With the new hotspot there at the volcano at Mono Lake, that would mean excessive geothermal. The computer's filtering out. It doesn't know what to make of it. It's not a weather anomaly. It's not a fire. It's hot steam coming out of a giant caldera. Nothing to worry about there. It's the first time I've ever seen it. Coming out of the water. Come on. Along the shores of Mono Lake, in the middle of winter, after 10 feet of snow? After 10 feet of snow. Yeah, no, that's definitely volcanic related. And the seismic is going on there to prove it. Now going across over the border, we're at Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Center. Let me show it to you. This. And this is where the 6.5 earthquake struck last year, and a spread of quakes going all the way over to here, to Coaldale, on the side of Coaldale Volcanic Butte and those old quarries down here to the south. That's where the quakes are. I just proved it to you. Again, supervolcano here, Mono Lake here with hotspot. Currently detected by the satellite, detecting a heat signature which it's filtering out because it does not know what to make of it. Then, over here, at the volcanic field, Mono Lake. Dang, I keep doing it. Now, down here in the valley, we're down at China Lake. Let's go show it to you for the new viewers. The rest of the quakes coming in between Kozo Volcanic Field, and you're welcome to pull the coordinates on this if you need to. Actually, let's just do that. See how it says Kozo Junction? Well, the USGS doesn't tell you about the volcanic field there. It would make a difference for everybody who would be watching or like reading on their site if it said Kozo Volcanic Field, right? Here's the earthquake. Here's the volcanic field with the rising lava domes. La Soufriere volcano down in the Caribbean has one of these rising now, rapidly, in the course of, a week? But these happened, I don't know how long ago, but they're all still pretty fresh. Now here's the youngest lava flows from Volcano Peak. These are all lava flows. And here's an example of a rising lava dome that did not rupture, but could someday in the future. Now this clearly ruptured. And when it did, it spilled out its contents on top of the old lava flows that were here, indicating this has happened for a long time and many times before. Now, what causes the new eruptions on top of the old eruptions? A new push. Where's the push coming from? Look. Over here in the valley, down here is where we're talking about. The red lines go back up to the supervolcano. And then we go from the supervolcano back up here, all the way up into the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, where we're shifting. So follow the faults. It's like a perfect trajectory for the quakes to follow. And they do. So it goes across the California-Nevada border, goes across California's coast, focuses in down at this point. Like I said, the cross point, the Garlock Fault. Then it tries to distribute across the Mojave Desert in Southern California, where the number of earthquakes is low. But look at this. It's like a spread pattern from east of LA down to south of Salton Sea, going down into Mexico. Let me show you what that resides on. Again, east of LA, going down across west of Salton Sea, and dead-ending down into Mexico, right over the border. Well, look, the San Jacinto and Elsinore Fault both come in together with the Imperial Fault, San Andreas. This is the San Andreas. Comes in down here to the south, and that's the line of quakes. It's a perfect match. Now, if you go look these up, you're going to find things at these locations, or at several of the locations. For instance, La Crescenta, Montrose, California. I don't recall ever having to look up this specific location, but just for posterity's sake, let's go look it up. Go see what's there. Looks like a whole lot of nothing. Some mountaintops, rugged rural area of some kind. Wait. Oh. Well. Dang. Got a big dam there with a hydroelectric station of some kind. Well, the chances of having a dam with a hydroelectric generation station there is pretty slim. Actually, it's really slim. That's an earthquake next to another power generation station. And it's right next to it. Okay, well, power generation, big dam, no drill points. Piezoelectric energy in the crust. We're starting at a power station. Now wait, let's go down to the south, shall we? Let's go down and look at this cluster down at the very tail end. So we start at one end, we go down to the other like bookends, right? Guess what's down here? Again, we're starting at a hydroelectric dam power station. So where do we end up? We'll go look up the earthquake in Mexico too, don't worry. Look where we end up, guys. This is wild. Here's the earthquake. Do you see all these? They look like farm fields, don't they? They were at some point in the past, but they've replaced the farm fields with solar panels. These are all solar panels. And I can get a street level view to show you these solar farms. All of these. All are solar panels. They're generating so much electricity here, it's not even funny. Let's see. Can we get a street level? They just built them in the past few years. Oh, okay, the street level 2009. Okay, well, yeah, we got to find a recent street level. They just built them in the past, like, 2 years. 2 to 5 years. Ah. Okay, make a liar out of me, right? Okay, there's going to be some troll who doesn't believe, so I'm going to keep going until we find it. We are going to find it! I say, old boy, come along with me on a voyage of discovery. Enough of this hogwash. There are no large solar farms that big, Dutch Sense. You're lying. No, I'm not. I swear. Look, every street level I'm going on, there's nothing. You gotta be kidding me here. I'm gonna find it, guys. This is really bothering me now. There we go. Again, I'm from the state of Missouri. On our license plates, it says show me. We're the show me state. If you don't show it, you're full of crap. And so there it is. And just field upon field upon field of these. They've replaced farming with solar farming, basically, is what I'm talking about here. So it's just a vast amount of electricity being generated, and the earthquake is coming in right next to it, within a mile. Then, on this side of the border, let's go pull the coordinates down in Mexico. Delta, Baja California. I almost said Baja Columbia. Baja California, Mexico. Baja Columbia. Is there even such a place? See how it says Cerro Prieto volcano there? And do you see on this side we have some interesting features? What you're going to find are geothermal electrical turbines. Again, power generation electrical. They're doing it with steam from this volcano here called Cerro Prieto. Now let's go back to the north. There's more. What about up here? This is what? Westmoreland, California? Imperial, California. So we go from LA at a hydroelectric dam. We go down to the south. We go down to solar farm. We go further south down into Mexico. We go to electrical generation station there. And look what we have right here. Another set of electrical turbines. Again powered by steam. And the steam is coming from the volcano here called Salton Buttes. Oh, wait, we have a hot spot at Salton Buttes today. Hold on, a hot spot, and again, the computer filtered it out. It didn't know what to make of it. It's coming from directly at the geothermal station, where you see steam pouring out the top. This is today, a new hot spot. Now we have a hot spot at Salton Buttes. Look, we have another hot spot over here, in South Arizona, Dome, Arizona. Why is it called Dome, Arizona? Is a ghost town. Never heard of it. We have a hot spot there. We've got a boatload of hot spots going across New Mexico, all across Colorado, going up into Wyoming, going over into Idaho. We're following the edge of the craton, guys, with hot spots. Perfect match. The little red dots here, all of these are detected today. It's going down through Texas, making a bend and going back up into Oklahoma. Centered around the south. Look, Mississippi. South Florida, those are down around Lake, what was that, Okeechobee? Those could be farmers down there in Lake Okeechobee. There's nothing in the northwest, as far as I can see. No hot spots in the Northwest at all. So all the states of the Northwest, nothing. Dang. All right, well, we got hot spots down where the earthquakes are going, right at the volcano. Southern California, Central California, we have hot spots appearing at your volcanoes. Mono Lake, right on the water, and right down next to Salton Sea, right next to its water. The flow has been cut off. The plate is shifting, there's no doubt about it, and I would think when the plate shifts, that would excite the volcanoes. I'm going to expect the magnitudes to take a 2 to 3-fold step up. So if we're at 0s, 1s, and 2s now, we'll be at 3s, 4s, and 5s within the next few days. The plate is shifting. Hundreds and hundreds of tremors per day for the last few days. Again, one more time. Do you think all this is going to move and you're not going to see movement down here and over here when they're all connected by the Craton Edge? Whoops. When they're all connected by the Craton Edge? Or you could just look at it on the USGS plate boundary map one more time. Just look at the red lines. You don't have to use my map. I mean, if you don't accept what I'm saying, just imagine it this way. Vancouver shifting, Washington shifting, Oregon shifting, Northern California shifting with all those little red dot tremors. We get some earthquakes out here in the Juan de Fuca. And downstream, the flow goes down following the San Andreas. It's just basic. And we know that the creeping section's moving one way and the other, north and south, northwest, southeast, whichever. That it's shifting down the creeping section of the San Andreas, and it's following the trajectory or the path of the faults overall, focusing in down here and spreading out across Southern California, seeking out to the drill points, the weak points, Mother Nature punch points, volcanoes, and trying to equally distribute out across the mass. That takes me back to where I started the update. First, you get a little incoming wave. A bunch of small earthquakes start to pop off, somewhat equally spaced. Start pumping more energy into it. Next thing you know, you start getting big earthquakes popping off all the same size along the plate. And the plate boundaries are just really just the whole planet here. These are the wave tanks. Let's get back to it. Let's turn back on the 7-day earthquake feed and just see if anything's struck since starting this update. I hope you enjoyed today's update. I don't know if we're done yet. I always say I'm done and then I'm not done, so don't leave yet. Let's go see if anything's happened since starting. Let's hit refresh. And I'll check the chat room too in a minute, but first things first, let's just quickly refresh. There we are. Since I got the European feed on, we can see the smaller earthquakes over here in the West Pacific. New 3s popping off between our 5s. Look at that. The middle points are being filled in by 3s. Think of these like 2 big waves and small waves in between. Wow, that's interesting. 3.1s too. They're exactly at 3.1 and 3.1 popping off at the middle points between our previous 5s. I wonder if that'll go up. Small earthquake-wise, we don't have much to add. No other noteworthy activity. That's good. If anything else develops, I will jump back on at a moment's notice. Now let's go over and check the chat room and see how everybody's doing live on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, you are watching a pre-recorded event, and I am live right now talking to an audience of several hundred people. If you want to watch, you can come over and watch anytime. It's free. Just come over to twitch.tv/DutchSenseOfficial. I know it's a long thing. Twitch TV Dutch Sense Official, and you'll find me. But come over and watch. You can watch the stream 24/7. If you want to comment in the chat room, you do have to be a subscriber. So if you want to support my operation, that's a way to do it. Otherwise, just wait for the videos to get uploaded to YouTube. I did take a week off. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about why, but there was a good reason why. Of course, we're back to it. People are messing around and hacking and hitting, literal hacking, hitting me with fake earthquakes that are coming from an agency a world away. Somebody there doesn't like me, whatever. I'm just trying to report to you the earthquakes and tell you the spots to watch that I think they're going to get hit next. You're welcome to test it. Wait and see if they do. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And if they don't, there's usually a good reason why. Okay, so 9:58 p.m. Central Time. Do you have an earthquake plan? It's a basic question. You don't have to answer it now, but you should know what to do when an earthquake strikes. I would think it's going to be pretty hectic. I've never been in an earthquake, knock on wood, of any size, knock on wood. But if an earthquake of significant size struck, I would be taking shelter underneath a table or a desk. Now, if you're not confident in your structure and the structure is going to give way, the table or desk is not going to support the falling structure, obviously. Now, I would also have a pre-designated area outside, far away, that I could go to. And I'm talking like a campground 100 miles away, another state away, a friend's house in another state, someplace you can go to after the earthquake that you may not be coming back for a long time. And if you're going outside, you might not be coming back inside for a long time. So you need to have seasonal specific stuff in your emergency kit. So if it's going to be cold outside, you need to have some long sleeve shirts and some pants and some socks. And if it's warm outside, of course, you don't need the long sleeve stuff. But you'll make those appropriate decisions. I'm just reminding you to make sure it's seasonal specific. Flashlight, batteries, first aid kit, sanitation, yada, yada. You know the drill. You're just supposed to put it into a bag and have it somewhere ready to go. And you should already have most of that stuff in your house anyways. At least you're supposed to, right? Like bandages and first aid and sanitation. If you require medicines, don't forget about that. Have an extra supply of medicine because you might not be able to get to it for a while. Think about the disabled. Think about children. If you have children, I've heard a lot of people talk. I don't have kids myself, but I would think if you're a kid and you're around a bunch of adults that are going through some kind of disaster, it's probably not going to be the most pleasant experience. You might want to have a separate little emergency kit for the kid that has a few kid-specific items in it. Even just a few toys or things to distract the kid. Might even want to have some candy and other things in there that would just seem like a luxury item, but it'll come in tremendously handy if the kid's there. Think about it, okay? I will be back if anything else goes down. Somebody's reporting that there is an incoming earthquake down in Chile. That is from the Quake Ninja. The Quake Ninja is reporting this to us. So, Quake Ninja in chat, thank you very much. I wonder where the earthquake is going to be in Chile. Do you think it'll be where the rings overlap? Do you think it'll be at the southern point, or do you think it'll be at the northern point? Looking at it all, I would think that maybe it would strike where the rings overlap. That would be my first inclination on that, would be that where all the rings overlap, that's where the new quake would strike. But we've been getting a lot of activity at that middle point of the whole plate. Again, there's two middle points, right? So we have a middle point between our sets of bigger quakes. That's this that just got hit. So if a new quake strikes there, I won't be shocked. But we also have a middle point between all of our earthquakes on the plate, and that's right here. Whoops, that's right south, where they all overlap. So I'd wonder, and then we have a third middle point that's between the quakes in South America and Antarctica, and that's the very south tip of Chile, down here. So it's just a wonder. It'll probably take several minutes for that to get reported here on the feed, so I don't know if that's going to be making it into this update, but whatever size it is, let's say it's a 5. But sometimes 4s show up as red, so we won't really know, but let's say it's a 5 and it comes in at that middle point, or it doesn't. It's a good thing to watch for future middle points to develop. Do you see what I'm saying? So if a new earthquake strikes, wherever it strikes, find the middle point between the sets of quakes. Hey, a new 2 has just struck in Idaho, above the magma chamber for Yellowstone. Starting, guys. Starting right now. A new quake just struck right over the magma chamber at the spot that was quiet. The spot that I told you to watch. Now it just got hit. When did it get hit? 3:47 UTC? Yep, it's 4:02 UTC within the past 15 minutes. It just started to break. Wow. Okay, well, we'll wait and see. Let me hit refresh and just see if they're going to throw that Chile earthquake on there or not, or if it's going to be a long ordeal for them to get that posted. Sometimes it takes 2 hours, 3 hours for them to report an earthquake. Wait, hold on, something else has happened. Hold on, gotta check, make before I say anything. 676 kilometer deep earthquake has just struck over here down below the West Pacific. It's only a 3.6, but it's 676 kilometers deep. This is very, very far down below the plate. Again, in the asthenosphere, in the area below the plate that's somewhat magma. Maybe above the mantle, but below the plate, the asthenosphere. So something's going on down there right now. That's the new earthquake that's just been reported, a new, extremely deep 3.6.
Okay, wow, this is starting to get interesting. Okay, I will be back on if anything else goes down. Word up. Peace out. Much love. I am out of here.